I restarted my journaling practice in the fall, and since then it feels like I've made every possible journaling mistake. And I want to save you from doing the same, so here's my definitive guide on how not to journal. Journaling feels deceptively easy. Get a notebook, you write in it, easy peasy. However, if you search how to journal on YouTube, you'll see countless results, which tells me that people are trying to start journaling and then running into some issues. So if you're over there thinking, how hard can it be? You just have to write words down. Technically, that is true. But when you actually sit down to start writing, it can feel a whole lot harder than that. But as I've approached this from many different ways since fall, I found 6 things you do not want to do when you're journaling, all of which I've personally done. So if you're just getting started, here is how not to journal. Learn from my mistakes. First tip on how not to journal, going negative in your gratitude journal. I decided to start a gratitude journal because I'd read a bunch of research, reduces stress, reframes your perspective, and just helps you appreciate things more. My therapist also suggested it, and who am I to disregard them? So I'd sit down and write something like, great time getting drinks with my friends at the bar. And then for reasons I can't fully explain, I would immediately follow that sentiment up with something that was the opposite of gratitude. Like, but I just wish I'd spent less money and now I'm a little stressed. If you're thinking, how does this even happen? I genuinely don't know. But if you're going to do a gratitude journal, the goal is to write good things and then stop. Gratitude journals are not the place to audit or judge yourself. This happened repeatedly. For the first few weeks, I tried to keep a gratitude journal and it really put a damper on being grateful. Next up on how not to journal, waiting until you found the perfect idea. I have a specific memory from early on of sitting down with my fresh unmarked work journal, pen in hand, and I wasn't entirely sure what I wanted to write, and I felt like it would set the stage for everything that came after. So I decided to start later when I had great inspiration. But that is a terrible way to approach journaling. You should not be putting it off waiting until you have just a stroke of genius. Writing anything is so much better than writing nothing, even if that anything is not at all groundbreaking. You're building a habit, not changing the world. Don't succumb to the pressure. A perfect journaling idea is just one that you write down. Eventually, I just wrote down some go-to prompts that I can use if I'm not sure what to write that day. And honestly, I'll still pull those prompts out if nothing else comes to mind when I sit down. And honestly, it can be a great insight to reuse the same prompts because each time you respond to it, you're gonna have something different to say. And if you'd be interested in seeing those prompts for your own journaling, let me know, happy to share. Third up on the list, overcommitting to an unsustainable schedule. Early on in my journaling experience, I had the brilliant idea of journaling twice a day, once before work and once before bed. I don't think I need to tell you how that ended. If I missed even one of those two, I kind of felt like a failure and it got rid of the good feelings around journaling. There's a slightly less dramatic version of this that's equally effective at killing the habit. Committing to say 20 minutes a day when you probably only have like 5. Yes, it's less, and sometimes it doesn't feel quite as meaningful at first, but a 5-minute entry that you actually do every day is so much better than a 20 or 30-minute session that you do inconsistently until you forget about it. Now I journal once a day for maybe 5 or 10 minutes, and if you're really feeling what you're writing and you have the time, you can always write for longer. Although I actually like to keep a pretty strict cap on mine so I don't get too lost. Fourth thing not to do when journaling, obsess over aesthetics before you even have a routine. I want to be careful here because I do genuinely love a good pen, but it is very easy to fall into the specific trap where you spend some time trying to figure out the pen you want to use, then you spend some time laying out and setting up the journal, and then you spend maybe some time decorating it. And all of a sudden, all of your writing time is gone. Or maybe you spend 30 minutes designing a template you're probably not actually going to use, or convincing yourself that the notebook you have on hand isn't going to work for the system you want. The aesthetic is not the journaling practice, and you can work on making it pretty after you have your routine set. You just want to focus on making it a habit now. Although you don't have to, for example, mine is just kind of messy. The next thing you don't want to do when journaling, forgetting to review your to-do and action lists. This one's specific for anyone using their journal for some kind of task tracking, which I do. Writing something down and then literally never looking at it again is basically the same as not writing it down at all. If you write follow up with X on a Tuesday and then you don't look back on that list for another month, well, that's basically just wasted space, and hopefully it wasn't very important. Earlier this year, I made a note to follow up with a friend who had texted and invited me to a political event he was hosting. For whatever reason, I wrote it on my action list instead of responding to him in the moment. And then 3 weeks later, and after the event had happened, I ran into him at a coffee shop and immediately remembered I never texted it back. I forgot to look back at the note, and therefore I forgot to respond to him completely. Writing down a to-do list is only half the battle. Finally, and maybe the most important way of how not to journal, is being on your phone while you're doing it. And this one I struggle with constantly, even though I am slowly getting better at it. A few weeks ago when I was journaling, mid-sentence, I checked my phone. I don't know why. There probably wasn't a good reason. Probably just that subconscious compulsion we almost all get just to scroll. And after 20 minutes, I realized I had completely stopped journaling to look at my phone. And when I tried to get back into it, I could not remember the point I was trying to make. The whole point of sitting down with a physical notebook is to be present and intentional with just this one thing. And the moment you pick up your phone, it's so hard to put down. Your phone can wait. Your thoughts genuinely cannot. Because by the time you put your phone back down, they are gone. And then you're just sitting there staring at a half-finished sentence with no clue what you're trying to say. So recently I've been trying to put my phone out of reach before I even start journaling. I'm definitely not always successful, but life's a process, and so is this. These 6 things aren't mistakes you make because you're bad at journaling. They're just because you're eager to get started. But try to start easy, make the routine first, and make it small enough that you'll actually stick with it. Everything else, the system, the structure, the aesthetics, that can come later. Journaling works because it gives your thoughts someplace to go, and that doesn't require a perfect setup. It requires a notebook, a pen, 5 minutes, and that's it. And if you want to turn every journal page into a work of art after you form the habit, by all means. I'll be a little jealous over here with my messy pages, but I'm not going to beat myself up about it. Because at the end of the day, what really matters is just putting your thoughts, feelings, dreams, fears down on paper. Thanks for sticking around to the end. If you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button. And the algorithm over here is going to recommend the next video for you to watch of mine. I will trust the process and hope it does a good job.